They said he was finished, an overrated flop, Kylian Mbappé, the golden boy of French football who finally got his dream move to Real Madrid, but it soon turned into a nightmare. Horror shows in the El Clasico, missed penalties, people claiming Madrid made a mistake, Mbappé can't handle the pressure. But here's the thing about the Frenchman, he's now reminded the world exactly who he is. And so this is the rise, the fall, and the rise again. Now let's rewind a bit, because you see, Mbappé was born into sport. His father was a coach and his mother was a former professional handball player. But talent alone wasn't what set him apart, it was an obsession. Mbappé was studying match tapes. His bedroom wasn't decorated with movie posters or superheroes or video games. It was a shrine to one single player who changed his life forever, Cristiano Ronaldo. Mbappé watched him religiously, analysing every movement, every trick, every finish, and from the moment that he could run almost, he had one goal in mind: to show the world that he was him. Thus, at just 11 years old, Mbappé was already a sensation. The biggest clubs in Europe were circling, with one of them of course being Real Madrid. They flew him to Spain, gave him a private tour of their training ground, and even had Zinedine Zidane personally welcome him. And that was where it all began. That was where Madrid's obsession with Mbappé was born. Even as a young boy, they knew that they wanted him. They knew that he was something special, but they would have to wait, because first France had to witness the rise of their generational talent. At just 14 years old, Mbappé joined Monaco's academy, and just 2 years later, he was already making history. On December 2nd, 2015, at just 16 years old, he made his professional debut, breaking Thierry Henry's record as Monaco's youngest ever player. But it was the 16-17 season that changed everything. You see, Monaco aren't supposed to win anything. We all know that PSG pretty much own French football. It is probably the most one-sided league of all time, but with a squad full of young talent like Bernardo Silva and Fabinho, as well as the veteran Falcao, Monaco did do something. But they didn't just compete, they dominated. However, at just 18 years old, Mbappé was their real superstar. 28 goals, unbelievable speed and composure well beyond his years. But the real statement came in the Champions League round of 16 against Man City. Mbappé tore them apart. He scored in both legs as Pep just watched in disbelief. Then came Borussia Dortmund in the quarterfinals and another brace. But it wasn't just the goals with Mbappé at this age, it was the confidence, the swagger. He wasn't playing like a wonder kid, he was playing like the real full package already. Thus the transfer war began. Real Madrid wanted him even more than before, but now so did Barcelona, Man City, Arsenal. You could pick any big club from around Europe and they would have snapped your hand off for him. But one club above all refused to be outbid, and that was Paris Saint-Germain. Monaco took some convincing, but a little world record €180 million fee ain't gonna hurt anybody, and so they got the deal done. It meant that Mbappé was now the most expensive teenager in football history. But if there were any doubts about whether or not Mbappé could handle the pressure, well, they disappeared instantly. In his first season at PSG, he formed a terrifying front three with Neymar and Cavani, where Mbappé racked up 21 goals and 15 assists, leading PSG to a domestic treble. But his true crowning moment wasn't at PSG at all, as that was at the 2018 World Cup. It was the round of 16, France versus Argentina, Mbappé versus Messi. The greatest talent in history versus the greatest talent of today. However, just 4 minutes in, Mbappé picked up the ball deep in his own half and just ran and ran and ran until Argentina had no choice but to bring him down. Penalty France, goal. But then with the game tied at 2-2, Mbappé took over. A rapid first touch and a lethal finish into the bottom corner, then just 3 minutes later, another. 2 goals, 4 minutes, game over. Even Messi couldn't believe what he was watching. But Mbappé wanted more than this, and so just 2 weeks later, he made history again. This time, it was the World Cup final, France versus Croatia, and at just 19 years old, Mbappé smashed a long-range shot into the bottom corner, becoming only the second teenager in history after Pelé to score in a World Cup final, as France went on to win 4-2. Therefore, Mbappé returned to Paris as a world champion. But because of that, something was different now. He was no longer a rising star, he was a superstar. Thus, from there, he made Ligue 1 his playground. 33 goals in 18-19, Ligue 1 Player of the Year, another Golden Boot, another title. Bro was untouchable. But he wasn't just dominating domestically, he was ending eras in Europe. Barcelona versus PSG 2021. Messi's home, the Camp Nou. The scene of PSG's most humiliating night, the remontada of 2017. But this time, there was no comeback, because this time, Mbappé was here. He bagged a hat-trick at the Camp Nou as Messi could only watch the same way he had to watch in 2018 when Mbappé ended Argentina's World Cup dreams. And so that was the night that PSG found a new king. Goodbye Neymar, hello Kylian. By 2022, he had done it all in France. Countless Ligue 1 titles, golden boots, individual accolades. He'd even surpassed Cavani to become PSG's all-time top scorer at just 24 years old. But something was still missing. The one thing he'd always dreamed of, the move the entire football world had been waiting for, Real Madrid. Then came the moment that everything changed, but not in the way that anyone expected. It was May 2022, the world was ready, the stage was set. After years of speculation, years of flirtation and years of waiting, Kylian Mbappé was finally going to Real Madrid. Or so we thought. The reports were everywhere. Deal done, medical scheduled, the new Galactica was all but dressed in white. But then, out of nowhere, PSG pulled off the unthinkable. Mbappé stayed. But it wasn't just that he stayed, it was how he stayed. He had personally called Florentino Perez to break the news. But how was this even possible? Well, PSG moved heaven and earth to keep him. The contract was unlike anything seen before. Reportedly, it was 600 million over 3 years, but it wasn't just the money that made this contract so incredible, it was the power that came with it. We're talking supposed influence over coaching decisions, transfer strategy, tactical input. Some even claimed that he had a say in who the next manager would be. And so he was no longer just PSG's star, he was their ruler. For a while it seemed like a dream. He was the face of the project, the undisputed leader. But power breeds expectation, and expectation breeds pressure. But the 22-23 season started well enough. Mbappé was still pulling up numbers, still winning games, still dominating Ligue 1, but behind the scenes it was chaos. But the real first fracture was the penalty drama. It came during PSG's match against Montpellier. Mbappé and Neymar clashed on the pitch. Both wanted to take a penalty, but Mbappé demanded the ball. Neymar refused, and so tensions boiled over, and later that night, Neymar liked tweets mocking Mbappé. Just like that, one of the most expensive and apparent perfect partnerships was falling apart. What's more is that Mbappé allegedly even tried to get Neymar sold. According to journalist Diego Torres, Mbappé viewed Neymar as indisciplined and raised concerns about his recovery habits, prompting PSG's owners to explore a possible transfer. Neymar's father, acting as his agent, insisted that his son would only leave if his full contract was paid out, feeling humiliated by the situation. Mbappé's influence also led to structural changes at PSG, including the departures of sporting director Leonardo and head coach Mauricio Pochettino. Then, after all that, as if it wasn't bad enough, the Real Madrid mind games propped back up once again. You see, Florentino Perez's obsession never faded. The Spanish press never stopped reminding the world that Mbappé had dreamed of Madrid since he was a kid, and as much as PSG hated it, they knew it as well. Every time Mbappé spoke to the media, the same question would follow him. Will you still be here next year? Do you regret staying? Is Madrid still your future? All culminating in June 2023. Mbappé sent a letter to PSG telling them that he wasn't going to extend his contract. His deal was set to expire the following year, and PSG now faced the one scenario they feared most: losing their biggest star, the one they pinned literally everything on, all for nothing. And so PSG went nuclear. Mbappé was banished from the first team squad, he was left out of pre-season, he missed team training. The message was clear from the club: you either extend, don't play again. And so for the first time in his career, Mbappé wasn't the golden boy. In fact, he was enemy number one. And Madrid were watching it all unfold. In spite of this, in the middle of the whole affair, something unbelievable happened. Saudi Arabia came calling. Al Hilal offered Mbappé a $1 €1 billion contract for 1 year and organised a €300 million transfer fee with PSG. It would have been the most insane deal in football history, and one that would probably never be repeated again in our lifetimes. And to be honest, it seemed perfect. Kylian had a way out of his nightmare in France, just 1 season in Saudi, and then he'd be free to fulfill his dream in Spain. But he said no. I was stunned. The world was stunned. This was the kind of money that would allow any member of his family for generations to come to live comfortably forever. But you gotta hand it to him. Mbappé only wanted one thing, and that was Real Madrid. He didn't want to risk anything getting in the way of that. Thus, by January 2024, PSG had no choice. Mbappé was back playing again, but the writing was on the wall. Everyone with half a functioning brain cell knew that his time in Paris was done. This time there was no doubt, no last-minute U-turns, no shocking plot twists, and so Mbappé finally signed for Los Blancos. The Bernabeu was packed. 80,000 plus fans watched as the Golden Boy finally arrived at the biggest club in the world. But then, it all went wrong. The excitement gone in weeks. The confidence destroyed in months. The dream, well, it was beginning to look more like a nightmare. Because this wasn't PSG anymore. At PSG, he could do whatever he wanted. At PSG, he was the king. At PSG, he had the freedom, the power, and the team built around him. But at Real Madrid, no one cares who you were yesterday. This is the most infamously hostile group of fans on the planet, and if you don't perform, you're gonna get eaten alive. And well, in his first months in Spain, Mbappé was barely recognisable. Catching him offside became a genuine game plan, and it started in El Clasico as Barcelona trapped him offside 8 times in a single match. That was 47% of his offsides for the entire season so far. In one game, he looked lost. The perfectly timed runs he'd become known for that genuinely had defenders praying for their lives were no longer working. Then came the penalties. First, a crucial miss against Getafe, then another in the Champions League against Liverpool. His goals simply dried up. Sure, he had a few, but this was Kylian Mbappé we're talking about here. The guy who walked into Madrid saying that he wanted 50 goals in his first season. The guy who was supposed to be unstoppable. But he wasn't. He looked uncomfortable, isolated, out of sync with the rest of the team. You see, Carlo Ancelotti was playing him as a number 9, but that's not really where he wanted to be. Mbappe's best work came from the left, but that spot was rightfully locked down by Vinicius Jr. And well, as for the internet, no surprises there, they turned on him instantly. Madrid made a mistake, he's overrated, he's a Ligue 1 merchant. Memes were everywhere on social media. And so, before he knew it, Mbappé stopped smiling. He stopped being himself. And then, just when he needed time out the firing line, more chaos hit. His legal battle with PSG exploded into public view. While struggling on the pitch, off the pitch he was still fighting PSG over unpaid wages. Reports claimed that the club owed him millions from bonuses and loyalty clauses, all unpaid. Then, just when it seemed like the walls were beginning to close in on him, everything changed. Because if there's one thing about Kylian Mbappé, it's this. You can doubt him, you can criticize him, you can mock him, but you can't stop him. And so, slowly but surely, something started to click. Vinny Jr., Jude Bellingham and Kylian Mbappé all started to find their rhythm together. With the turning point coming in January 2025. Real Madrid versus Valladolid, a must-win game and an Mbappé hat-trick. The player we had spent years watching seemingly was back. Blistering pace, deadly finishing, unstoppable amounts of confidence. This was the Mbappé that Spain had been waiting for. But then came his chance to prove to the rest of the world that he was back and better than ever, and the second leg against City in February 2025. Once again, Mbappé hat-trick. 3 goals, 3 moments of just pure war. And finally, he spammed stepovers against Phil Foden of all people before then cutting inside. Game over. For the first time since arriving, he wasn't just a Madrid player, he was Madrid's hero. He was him. But what happens next in this long-awaited Madrid legacy that Mbappé hopes to build? Is this just the beginning? Will it get better? Or is this video and you're not already? Make sure you subscribe and ding that notification bell. Also, perhaps check this video out on your screen right now as well.